Welcome back to Saints and Sinners, where grace doesn't knock politely, where the saints don't float in on clouds, and where some of the holiest lives begin in places no one wants to talk about. So go ahead and follow, subscribe, and stay with us, because today's story isn't about falling away from God. It's about running from Him and discovering He's been following you the whole time. This story begins in the shadows, not the poetic kind, but the kind that whisper lies, promise power, and leave souls hollow. This is Saints and Sinners. He's born in 1841 in a small town in southern Italy, where the sun bakes the earth hard, and faith is practiced the same way crops are grown, daily, patiently, and without fanfare. His parents are comfortable, devout. Evenings end with the soft click of rosary beads and the low murmur of prayer. As a boy, he's bright, talented, quick with a smile. But when his mother dies at the age of 10, something fractures. The world tilts. And the faith that once felt like home begins to feel rather thin. By the time he's studying law at the University of Naples, he's searching, not for truth, but for relief. And the 1860s offer plenty of options. Italy is restless, caught between old devotions and new ideas. He's a rising star in a world that prized intellect and rebellion. He dives into spiritualism, seances, the occult. What begins as curiosity deepens into obsession. Soon, he becomes a priest, just not the kind who lifts a chalice. He chants in darkened rooms, swears allegiance to powers that promise knowledge without obedience, authority without accountability. During his so-called ordination, the air splits, thunder cracks, walls tremble, and candles die. He collapses into a trance, swallowed by darkness and voices that do not comfort. Meanwhile, miles away, his family prays, but he doesn't hear them. The cost comes fast. He began to fear, not God, but damnation. His mind begins to fray. Sleep disappears. Fear takes up residence. His body begins to wither, a living skeleton, hollowed out by the very forces he once believed would set him free. He was tormented by thoughts of eternal loss, racked with despair so deep it bordered on madness. The man who had chased freedom found himself enslaved. The man who mocked heaven was terrified of hell. That's when an old friend steps in, a man named Vincenzo, steady and grounded. He looks him in the eye and asks one simple question: do you want to lose everything? Another voice joins him, a Dominican friar, gentle and unimpressed by theatrics. He speaks of a woman named Mary and of a prayer that doesn't summon spirits, but sends them running. The words linger, but it isn't until he's in Pompeii, amid ruins and ash and reminders of sudden judgment, that the breaking point comes. One night, alone, exhausted, and staring down the edge of despair, he hears a whisper. Not thunder, not spectacle. Just this: spread my rosary, and you will find peace. He drops to his knees, not because he's convinced, but because he's out of options. And he promises to try. At first, nothing happens. No visions, no lightning, no instant relief, not like his ordination day. Just repetition becoming meditation. Beads slipping through shaking fingers, words spoken more out of desperation than belief. But something shifted. The noise quieted. The fear loosened its grip. The darkness slowly lost its authority. And the man who had given his life to destruction did something radical. He surrendered. From that moment on, his life bends slowly toward the light. He takes a new name, Brother Rosario. He joins the Dominicans, not as a priest, but as a layman. No platform, no prestige. He vows celibacy, chooses obscurity. He spreads the rosary, speaks of mercy, the kind you only understand after you've needed it desperately. He works for a countess, managing her finances, caring for her fatherless children. And it's not romantic. She's difficult, demanding, and relentless. Her household is loud, chaotic, and suspicious of him, and rumors, they begin to follow. Spiritual warfare rarely announces itself politely. Accusations begin to swirl. Impropriety, scandal, insinuations designed to undo everything he's built. Years of work hang by a thread. So after consultation with the Pope, he makes a radical decision. He marries the Countess, not for comfort, not for appearances. They choose a shared vow of purity, brother and sister, bound by mission, not by desire. Together they build schools for orphans, a press for the children of prisoners, shelter for the abandoned, and at the center of it all, the Rosary. He raises a shrine in Pompeii, turning a city of ash into a place of pilgrimage, turning beads into a lifeline. By the time he dies in 1926, at 85 years old, millions are drawn to what he helped restore. And his life stands as a warning and an invitation. No one is too far gone. No sin outpaces mercy. No darkness outruns grace. So who was this man who fell so far and rose so quietly? His name is Saint Bartolo Longo, the Apostle of the Rosary, the man who traded shadows for beads, who proved that grace doesn't erase your past, it redeems it. So if you ever feel lost, without hope, on the verge of despair, remember this: there is always a thread to follow, and sometimes that thread is wrapped in beads. So if you're carrying a past you're ashamed of, if you've wandered farther than you're meant to, if you've built an identity around running, remember, the same God who allows the fall also prepares the road back. Grace doesn't wait for perfection. It waits for honesty. And sometimes the loudest saints are the ones who once screamed the loudest against heaven. So go ahead and follow, subscribe, and walk with us as we continue uncovering stories where the sacred collides with the scarred. Until then, keep your hands on the beads, your eyes on mercy, and your heart open to the God who never stops chasing you. Because saints rise, sinners fall, and history bears witness.